presentation of Fox Sports.
We are the Fox. We are the Lions.
It has been a historic start for the Cincinnati Reds. 4 wins in their final at-bat in each of their first 4 games of the season. Only the second team in Major League history to do that. Today they hand the ball to their main man, Johnny Cueto. A chance to begin the year at 5-0. Reds and the Cardinals coming up. It is an absolutely glorious Saturday afternoon in downtown Cincinnati. A standing room only crowd at Great American Ballpark. The Reds have began the year 4-0. Trying to make it 5-0 here today with the St. Louis Cardinals in town. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day and our entire crew, I'm Tom Brenneman. Delighted to have you with us on this Saturday afternoon for Reds baseball. And you know, we knew when Billy Hamilton came to the major leagues last year, and we saw spurts of it where he made such an incredible impact on Reds games. We're seeing that from the very beginning here in 2015.
Oh, you're right. I think you can see the maturing of Billy Hamilton a little bit at a time. He's getting better field presence, stage presence at the plate. And, of course, when he's on the base pass, he's the most disruptive player in all of baseball. In fact, he's the most disruptive player to come along in a long time. He's 6 for 6 in stolen bases through the first few games. He's got 7 through the first 4, 6 runs scored. Every time you turn around, there's a pitcher worrying about Billy Hamilton, and the Reds like it just like that.
They also like when they hand the ball to Johnny Cueto. On opening day, he was spectacular. Unfortunately, did not get the win. The Reds won the game, but here he goes, round 2.
Well, the Reds have not had a starter get a win yet, even though they are 4-0, but Johnny Cueto certainly deserves it. He is really on top of his game. We saw him change his windup up a little bit. I think Johnny Cueto just feels so good about himself right now that he feels like he's invincible. Any pitch at any time, he can throw it where he wants to. This guy is rolling right along. Last year, he pitched 3 games against the Cardinals, 2 pretty good and 1 not so good. He's a guy that really wants to get a W today.
Got a tough mound opponent today.
He does. Michael Wacha, 6'6" right-hander. He's not too much removed, really, from the college ranks. He was drafted in 2012, first-round pick by the Cardinals, but he was sidelined last year with some shoulder problems. They say he's okay. Great fastball, great changeup. Those are his best 2 pitches.
When we come back, Jim Day will tell us about Aroldis Chapman making history at the ballpark here last night. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
The Reds have proved they can win in the rain, can win in the dry and the sunshine, and we've got that again for us today. Beautiful weather for baseball, 57 and mostly sunny around first pitch. By the end of the game, we're wrapping up right around 60 degrees. So things are going to cooperate weather-wise for us. Let's see if the Reds can make it 5-0.
I'm Jim Day, certainly cooperating right now. It is gorgeous here at GABP. Aroldis Chapman, I'm not sure you can pitch any better than Aroldis has pitched out of the gates. A 4-0 start for the Reds, and already he's got a save on opening day, a win on Thursday to help sweep the Pirates, and then last night another save. Coming into the game, gets 2 strikeouts in the 9th inning last night and made history last night. We know that Aroldis Chapman, Cuban defector, Cuban descent, and he has accomplished something that no other Cuban descent pitcher has ever done. It's our T-Mobile game changer. Most saves by a Cuban-born pitcher. Last night, he recorded his 115th save in his young career, passing Danny Baez. So 115 and counting. If he stays healthy, he will shatter that record. So congratulations to the Cuban-born Aroldis Chapman. Will Chappie be available today? Not sure. They might not need him with Cueto on the hill as the Reds strive for 5 in a row to start the season. Tom and Chris are next.
Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By Chevy, check out our award-winning lineup, only at your tri-state Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. What a beautiful day it is. Temperatures hovering right around 60 degrees, bright sunshine, a full house along the banks of the Ohio here at Great American Ballpark. Mike Matheny has led the Cardinals to the postseason each of his first 3 years as their manager. Let's take a look at his starting lineup, presented by Lexus. Carpenter at third, Hayward in right, Matt Holliday in left. Matt Adams at first, Johnny Peralta at short, John Jay back in the lineup in center. Yadier Molina hitless on the year. He is now batting 7th. Colton Wong will bat 8th. Michael Wacha on the mound. Johnny Cueto, 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, no runs, and a no decision opening day start against the Pirates.
You know, Tom, I've watched Johnny Cueto an awful lot since he's been a young teenager in the minor leagues, and you look at his numbers now that he's compiled in the major leagues, and you watch him pitch, and you're looking for a weakness in his game, and you simply can't find any. He has gotten much better at the plate. He's a great defender out there as far as fielding balls. He's one of the best in the business in shutting down the running game. I mean, he has no flaws at this point. The only flaw really that goes along with Cueto is his team does not score very many runs when he's on the mound. Other than that, and that's beyond his control, he is the complete pitcher.
Johnny looking around, making sure his teammates are set to go, looking in for the sign to face Matt Carpenter. Strike one, we're underway. Carpenter on base 3 times last night. 2 hits, a walk in 5 plate appearances. Overall, Carpenter 4 of 12 to begin this season with a run batted in. Motto will handle this one himself, and that takes care of Carpenter to begin the game. The Reds defense has been just simply incredible through the first 4 games. It's brought to you by Ford. Hamilton flanked by Bird and Bruce. Frazier, Cozart, Brandon, and Votto third to first. A battery of Cueto and Devin Mesoraco. Former Atlanta Brave Jason Hayward came over during the offseason in a trade involving Shelby Miller. 1 of 5, struck out twice, knocked in a run with a single in the game last night.
Chasing a lot of breaking balls down. I've noticed Hayward starting last night, chased a lot of pitches, change-ups out of the zone from Jason Marquis. Now there's an odd thing right there when the umpire tries to slow things down. Are the games going so quick that we need to put a break on?
Well, you may recall on opening day, Cueto was asked about it following the game. Chris, we picked up on the fact that a number of times during that game he was quick pitching batters out of his regular windup. And I should say irregular windup. Normally we're used to seeing him spin and turn like Louis Tiant used to do. The other day, that was not always the case.
And you said tongue-in-cheek, well, is he bored out there? And you know the answer is yes. He's not really doing that strategically only. He's doing it to have some fun. I didn't know the game was that easy.
Well, watching Cueto just blossom during his major league career has been a sight to see. Just off the corner.
You know he's headed for a big payday. It doesn't matter where he plays. Hopefully the Reds will figure out a way to keep him in town. But I think it's exciting to watch a player of his caliber play in the last year of a contract.
Three and 2 on Hayward, and a bouncing ball. Phillips, a diving play. Wow. 2 away in the inning. We just talked about the Reds defense. They were the best defensive team in all of baseball last year, and man, they've got it revved up to start this year.
I mean, if you're in the batter's box against Johnny Cueto and are fortunate enough to hit a ball that hard, you're thinking, I got a base hit. This defense is like Wonder Bread. No holes.
Wow. Wow.
You remember that old commercial? I mean, going way back when.
I am, that took my breath away. Wonder Bread. That might be your new nickname. Because your game has no holes. That fastball at 93 high. Holiday thought it looked good, came up empty. And right back with a breaking ball at 82 to get ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes on Matt Holliday. Johnny tries to make it a 1-2-3 opening inning. 2-2 on Holiday. Full count.
You know, you got to figure you have to admire Cueto for a lot of things, one of which he's not afraid to experiment out there. He's the one who took it upon himself to get that Louis Tiant twist, and now he's adding another twist.
Strike 3 called. Holiday disagrees. All right, Wonder Bread, who's coming up in the Reds first?
The good guys.
Team comes to bat in the bottom of the inning. Let's take a look at the Reds lineup under manager Brian Price, presented by Meyer. Same group, same order. We've seen in each of the first 4 all victories. Hamilton, Votto, Frazier, Mesoraco, Bruce, Marlon, Bird, Brandon Phillips, Zach Cozart, Johnny Cueto. Michael Wacha was simply incredible during the postseason of 2013. In fact, was a National League Championship Series MVP. Chris started out very good last year, injured his shoulder. Some are still a little concerned about where he is.
Well, I think one reason they're concerned, Tom, is he's really never pitched more than about 110 innings in the major leagues in any one season. So this is his 3rd year, or beginning of parts of 3 seasons. Last year was a weird year for him. He was 5-0 at home. He was 0-6 on the road. But still a very talented, tall right-hander. Throws hard, mid-90s with a fastball, and a plus changeup, and that is his main pitch, is that changeup he throws, and he throws it a lot.
Billy 4 out of 14 to begin the year, and a one-hopper fielded by Peralta. That's a nice play by the Cardinals shortstop. 1 away.
Well, you're always playing a step shallower when you're playing infield against Billy Hamilton. So instead of playing back by the grass right there, Peralta's got to get over there and get to that ball quickly. Short hops, gets rid of it quick. And now with a slower runner up, the infield moves back to where you normally see guys, which is right at the end of the cutout to the outfield.
What a start to this year for Joey Votto after missing 100 games a season ago due to injury. 7 of 17, 3 home runs, 8 runs batted in. Votto even has 2 stolen bases to begin this season. Hit a pair of 2-run home runs in the win here last night.
Bad dude.
Every one of Votto's 8 runs batted in have either tied the game or given the Reds a lead in a game. There's a rocket. Couple of hard hit balls from Hamilton and now Votto, but a pair of loud outs. We look at the Cardinals on defense, presented by Ford. And the only change from their lineup yesterday, outside of Michael Wacha, of course, is a center fielder. Their regular center fielder back in there today, John Jay. 2 down for Frazier. He just missed. Hitting a couple of more home runs in the game last night. He wound up knocking in the winning run on the sac fly to score Hamilton, breaking a 4-4 game in the 8th inning. 2-0. Wacha throws a fastball here. Look out. Too low. And it was a 94-mile-per-hour fastball. Way Frazier's going right now. You green light him on everything. And it is launched into left field. 1-0.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Tom, about that 3-0 pitch. Sometimes a pitcher just trying to throw a strike, not sure if that hitter's got the green light or not. But you've got 2 hitters on this team that are just locked in right now. Votto and Frazier are seeing it big.
Frazier now ties Joey for the team high, each already with 3 home runs, and here we are 1 inning into the 5th game of the year.
I mean, how good must you feel if you're Todd Frazier that you're chasing a 3-0 pitch up and out of the strike zone, feeling so good that you can get the barrel of the bat to it, that it doesn't matter. I'm seeing it and I'm hitting it.
Devin 1 hit in 16 at bats to begin the season. And he's behind in the count to Wacha, 1-2. The decision made by Brian Price, flirted around with it in spring training. Votto in the 2-hole. He was mixing a lot of guys in the 3 spot. Then he moved Votto back to 3rd for a little while. Still 1-2 on Devin. But 2 days before opening day, he said, here's what we're doing. Votto 2, Frazier 3. And so far, it's been better than good. Hamilton at an on-base percentage of close to .450. Votto and Frazier have combined for 6 home runs and 14 batted in. If they get Mesoraco, Bruce, Bird, Phillips going, look out.
Or any of them. I mean, rarely do you have everybody in the lineup clicking all the time. But the more the merrier.
Inning over. But early damage on a 3-0 pitch delivered by Wacha to Todd Frazier. End of 1. Reds lead 1-0. Giving Johnny Cueto a lead. Of course, Cueto had a 2-0 lead on opening day at the end of 7. Andrew McCutchen tied the game when Cueto was gone. 2-run home run. The Reds got a 3-run homer from Frazier in the bottom of that inning to win it. 1-1 on Matt Adams. 0 for 9 to begin the year. Fly ball, Bird coming hard. Got it. This has just been incredible to watch. And Chris, you tell me. I mean, I don't think it's overstating the fact the plays we have seen by this Reds defense already this year.
Well, Bird, you have to keep in mind, even though he's up there in age, he is a former center fielder. He is a very good athlete. He keeps himself in great shape. Got a good jump on that ball. And, hey, you know, the defense can be a lot like offense. Your team gets on a roll a little bit, and you want to be the next guy to make a great play. There's no circling it up and picking it up on one hop on that one.
Now Peralta. Hard hit ball foul. He had one of those in the opening inning yesterday, giving the Cardinals a 1-0 lead, a double down the left field line off Jason Marquis.
You know, Tom, the other thing, and we talked about it after the game last night off the air, you don't feel that the Cardinals come in here and intimidate anymore. They used to. And I know the Reds players will deny that forever. But when Tony La Russa brought his guys in here, it just didn't seem like the Reds felt like they deserved to win those games. They wanted to win those games, but they didn't think that they really were going to beat the Cardinals in a series. And over the years, the record that the Reds have had against the Cardinals series-wise proves that out.
Sure,
but that is no longer the case.
Well, in the last 14 series against St. Louis, the Reds have only won 2 of them. They've lost 12. They've lost the last 12 3-game series to St. Louis. John Jay down to strike. How about it, Jim Day?
Well, they're getting a little bit of what Chris Welch is talking about from Brian Price as well. I asked him at the start of this series, Brian Price yesterday, about, what's it like to play the vaunted Cardinals, where you can't pat yourself on the back too much with a 3-0 start at that point. And he was kind of irritated with the question. He did answer it politically correct in a politically correct manner, but you could tell he was irritated, basically saying, these aren't the vaunted Cardinals. We're pretty good too. And I think that's it's going off on his team as well.
John Jay hit by a pitch. He led the major leagues in that category a year ago. Was hit 20 times. The last 3 years, only Shin-Soo Choo has been hit by more pitches than John Jay. And there's a liner into right field, a base hit by Molina. Runner had to wait at second base, and now all of a sudden, after the error and a hit batsman, Cardinals get their first base hit. They have them loaded with 1 out in the inning.
That's the bad news. The good news, you're in the National League, you're down at the bottom of the lineup, although their number 8 hitter has been showing the ability to swing the bat here a little bit early on. That's the first hit of the season for Yadier Molina.
In his 11th at bat. Well, that number 8 hitter is Colton Wong. He has 2 hits and 10 at bats to start this season. Loaded for the Redbirds, 1 out. Spun out of the way on a high, tight pitch. Ball 1. Wong very, very speedy. Difficult to double up unless it's a rocket right at one of the middle infielders.
But the Reds are in double play depth, so you ask yourself, and I really don't know the answer to this, Tom. I mean, when you get a guy that speedy, would you be just as well to play the infield in and play for a force at the plate, or do you play back in double play depth in case he does hit the ball hard enough for a double play?
Pitching with the bases loaded, the numbers are mind-boggling for Cueto. In his career, opponents hitting 157. Going back to 74, only the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley, had a lower opponent's batting average against than Johnny Cueto's 157. 2-1 delivery. In the air and hit hard. So tie the game. A sac fly RBI by Wong. So the air comes back to bite Cueto and the Reds. It's a 1-1 game. That is an unearned run against Cueto, but a run nonetheless. That is another pattern that has taken place through the first 4 games of this year. And really for both sides, the Reds, the Pirates, now the Cardinals. Whenever a team has taken a lead, remember on opening day, every time a team scored, the other team tied the game the next half inning. Every time. Or I beg your pardon, opening night. Same old's true here today. Reds scoring the first, Cardinals tie in the second, and this should be all. And it is. An error leads to an unearned run. Reds will bat in the second inning in a 1-1 game. Five teams, including the Redlegs, unbeaten to begin this season. And many might argue that the 3 teams in the National League are a surprise. We felt the Reds were going to be a good team. See how it plays out over the long haul. There are many that believe Colorado and Atlanta are in for long years. We know how good Detroit and Kansas City are.
Well, you know, the old saying in baseball is that you can't win it in the month of April, but you can lose it in the month of April by getting off to a horrendous start. Reds off to a terrific start right now and feeling real good about themselves. I think that the other part of it, Tom, is that they're doing it against division foes. And one team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and a lot of prognosticators thought that they would be making a good run in the postseason.
Straight away center field, and this will be playable for John Jay. Bruce retired 1 away. Not only against Central Division rivals, Chris, but against a pair of teams that were both playoff teams in each of the last 2 years. First pitch swinging is Marlon Byrd, and that didn't take long to record the first 2 outs in the inning for Michael Wacha. And really, we saw this in a game last night. You may remember when Marquis came out of the game after 6. He had thrown 104 pitches. John Lackey was pitching in the 6th inning in the neighborhood of 60. Two away for Brandon. First pitch swinging. A 4-pitch inning for Wacha. Phillips is out. It's already been recorded by the umpire. 4 pitches to retire Bruce, Byrd, and Phillips. Cueto barely. One game. Reds and the Cardinals. End of 2. Top of the order against Johnny Cueto. Matt Carpenter looks at a breaking ball. Strike 1. Little flare into shallow center field. The speed of Billy Hamilton runs it down.
You know, somebody from St. Louis asked me the other day when they came into town, is Billy Hamilton really as good defensively as advertised? And it's a play like that that shows, because if you start the inning off and you take away a runner and exchange it for an out, changes the potential of this inning entirely for Johnny Cueto and the Reds. Jason Hayward doesn't have a hole on the right side of the infield that opens up, so now a ground ball over there likely to be caught, whereas before may not be. A lot of things can happen.
Hayward had a hit taken away on a diving play by Brandon Phillips to his right, who popped up and threw him out. I notice out there on the big board there's only one other game being played in baseball right now. There's a line drive caught by Bruce. 2 are out in the inning. Only one other game being played in baseball, and that's in the Bronx. I would imagine that is a mighty tough turnaround. They played 19 innings last night. The Red Sox and the Yankees. 19. Ground ball to the shortstop. And like the bottom of the second inning for Waka, it is a really quick top of the third for Cueto through 7 pitches. Still a 1-1 game.
Baseball, Cardinals and Reds. I'm Jim Day. We continue to talk about all the new additions to Great American Ballpark this season. And there isn't a space that they haven't, well, served the beverages here at GABP. And now you don't even have to be served. You can serve yourself. They have self-serve kiosks all over the ballpark. And you get your own little ticket, you pay for it, and you can buy it by the ounce. So no longer standing in real long lines. And again, the ownership group making this place as fan friendly as possible and cutting down on the lines. And I've already noticed on the concourse it's made a big difference.
Chris, it's a good thing they didn't have those when you were coming to the ballpark.
Well, you're not kidding. I mean, I thought you couldn't have one of those unless you put it in your man cave.
Cozart a base hit into center field to begin the Reds' third. Cozart getting his second hit of this season, although he has hit a number of balls very, very hard. Twice last night, hit line drives caught out in center field. Cueto will be asked to bunt, we would assume, although a pretty good handler of the bat. I mean, you couldn't stand at home plate and just roll the ball out there any better than that. I'd like to remind you, MLB.TV Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service celebrating now 13 years. Don't forget, blackout and other restrictions may apply. Visit MLB.TV for more details. Top of the order we go. Hamilton, a sharp ground ball. Back up through the middle was fielded by Peralta, who threw him out in the first inning. 1-1 game. Cozart the lead run in scoring position. Waka gets to it, and a nice play. Advancing on to third is Cozart, but they're 2 away in the inning. That ball's a little closer to the third base line. Hamilton has a legitimate shot.
You're right, Tom. But you know, the other part of that is that you made a very astute observation the other day that we really haven't seen Billy Hamilton try to pull bunt, drag bunt. That's a push bunt when you push it down the third baseline. It's a drag bunt when you get it down the first baseline. Matt Adams is playing very deep on that play. Once he gets that down, it'll really open up some opportunity for him.
So now looking for a 2-out knock by Votto. And it's launched deep right center field. And on this very cool afternoon, Ball not traveling as far maybe as on a hot summer day. That ball was hit. 1-1 game, end of 3. In the Cardinals, if you come early and be one of the first 20,000 fans to arrive, you'll receive a magnetic schedule and a car magnet featuring Reds first baseman Joey Votto, presented by PNC Bank. 1:10 start time tomorrow. Raisel Iglesias, the Cuban-born, Cuban defector, will make his major league debut. This one down the right field line, and Adams plays long ball to give the Cardinals a 2-1 lead. Yadier Molina got his first hit of the year back in the second inning. That is the first hit of the year for Adams. So for the first time in this young season, only his second start, Johnny Cueto on the short end of the scoreboard. He never trailed on opening day, leaving with a 2-0 lead. Had a 1-0 lead before an error cost him an unearned run in the second. And now Adams breaks a tie with a long one in the fourth. And Peralta went around, then a strike 3. Second strikeout of the game by Johnny.
Got ahead, looking for it outside, and Peralta he's a very aggressive hitter. Could not hold back on that little slider.
John Jay, you may remember, began last season on the bench. In 2013, he had a down year at the plate and in the field, prompting the Cardinals to trade away David Freese, their World Series MVP, to the Angels to acquire Peter Borges. And the Cardinals stayed with Borges for about 3 weeks last year and said that's enough. Jay earned his job back, had an excellent season. An even better postseason. He hit nearly 500 through the division series and the league championship series.
Which leads the Cardinals to have a kind of an interesting roster. Jay's taken over really the everyday play in center field. But they also brought up a young man who started in last night's ball game, Randall Grichuk, who they really like a lot. He came over with Borges in that deal. They're both really center fielders. So they've got really 3 center fielders on their roster. Kind of unusual. Borges is very good defensively, but he just didn't do much with the bat. Best numbers on the Cardinals right there against Johnny Cueto.
Bruce to his right for the second out of the inning. Reds will have Frazier, Mesoraco, Bruce coming up in the bottom half. One more out to go. And Yadier Molina strolls to the plate, welcomed by a chorus of boos, much like Brandon Phillips will hear when we go to St. Louis next weekend. For those that may wonder, well, why? We remember the fight that occurred here between these two teams. That's been now 5 years ago. So here come the Reds, and now they're trailing after the Adams home run, 2-1.
Cardinals up 2-0 on a home run by Matt Adams last inning. 1 unearned run for the Cardinals, but Michael Wacha now set for inning number 4. Frazier, Mesoraco, and Bruce.
Reds have 2 hits through the front 3. Their only run came off the bat of the fellow who's digging in there right now, Frazier, a solo home run on a 3-0 pitch in the first inning, and a bullet off his bat. The first pitch here in the 4th from Wacha.
They might want to keep the ball down on him a little bit. Both pitches he's hit, and hit very hard. A screaming line drive of a home run, and that ball was hit sharply, both up in the zone. Wacha does like to elevate his fastball, but that's a no zone spot right there.
Wacha begins his bottom half of the 4th inning, having thrown 29 pitches. Now make it 30. Here's Mesoraco. Devin, you may remember, began the year on the disabled list last year. Wound up playing at a career-high 114 games, led all major league catchers with 25 home runs, knocked in 80. Double play ball here. And slow to the trigger, turning it was Wong.
Well, kind of slow all the way around. It wasn't hit all that sharply. Shortstop had to go a couple of steps to his right. Wong couldn't get the handle on it. It looked like he hung near the bag just a little extra time there as he couldn't get the grip. Plus, he was a little worried about Frazier coming in there and upending him.
Jay Bruce, a fly ball to center field his first time up. 1 on, 1 out. You and I were talking before this game, and we're not privy to some of the inside information of game planning, if you will, as far as an approach is concerned against any pitcher on any given day by the Reds. But I thought you made some interesting points about Wacha in that, maybe you would want to be a little more patient with him on the mound today.
Well, if you have a game plan that recognizes maybe the big picture, and the big picture for Michael Wacha is how many innings are the Cardinals expecting to get out of him.
Stolen base by Mesoraco, his first of the year.
Boy, there used to be a day when you would never see Yadier Molina throw a ball that wide to second base. I mean, that ball nearly went into center field. Was that a hit and run?
Looked like it, just by the way Devin Mesoraco kept looking back to the plate.
Well, when you're going good, it works out. When you're going bad, you're out by 15 feet. But the big picture for Wacha is he's only pitched 110 innings or so in the major leagues last year. He had shoulder problems last year, even though he came back very strong in the playoffs. And anytime you have a pitcher like that, I'm sure that somewhere down the road they're wondering how many innings do they expect to get out of Michael Wacha? How many pitches total? And there's all sorts of speculation that today he would not go deep into a ball game based on pitch count. Well, if your pitch count is 37 pitches and you're 1 out in the 4th inning, you're going to go deep into the game at that rate. So the Reds maybe did not take that into consideration, and they're being very aggressive.
Tying run is Mesoraco out there at second base. 2-2 to Bruce. Started 2, laid off. Marlon Byrd waits on deck. Jam-packed house here at Great American Ballpark today. Standing room only for this Saturday, glorious Saturday weather-wise, for the Reds and the Cardinals.
Back-to-back changeups right there. He missed with the one before that and came right over the zone with it. Bruce had a big hack. Swung right over the top of it. That's a plus pitch. There are very few pitchers in the major leagues that throw as many changeups percentage-wise as does Michael Wacha. Loves that pitch.
Well, this would be a mighty fine time for Marlon Byrd to find his first RBI wearing a Reds uniform. Tying run at second. Slow breaking ball, strike 1.
Kind of a rarity when you see Wacha throw a curveball. Curveballs will be in the mid-70s. The changeup around 86, 87. Fastball anywhere from 90 to 97. Wacha, kind of an interesting story because he was a #1 draft pick when the Cardinals got him in 2012. 19th pick overall. That was out of college, Texas A&M. He was not drafted at all out of high school. You don't see that very often.
Nope. That one getting away from Molina, and Mesoraco, after stealing second base, advances to third on a wild pitch. So now that tying run only 90 feet away. 2 balls and a strike to Marlon Byrd. Gobbled up by Wong, and that'll end the inning. A leadoff single by the board. 4 innings in the books. 2-1 St. Louis in front. Brought to you by Meyer, by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the nation on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Two runs, 2 hits, 1 unearned run for the Cardinals against Cueto. Reds with a run on 3 hits against Waka. 8, 9, and 1 in the order. Wong cashed in on the unearned run with a sac fly to right field in the 2nd inning. And through the hole into right field, a base hit by Colton Wong.
Hey, he's got a nice, short, quick swing. I'm not sure how long he's going to be buried down there in the number 8 spot. He keeps swinging the bat like he has been. One thing you do have when you have speed like that down at the bottom of the order and you get on base as he's done right here to lead the inning off, makes it easy to get a sacrifice done, and then you have some speed in scoring position.
Bunted into the air, and neither Votto nor Mesoraco able to get there in time. Strike 1.
I get the feeling that one of them probably would have dove for that ball, but they were probably afraid of butting heads with the other guy that might dive. I think you almost see Votto beginning that dive, but he saw Mesoraco coming, full gear on. You don't want that collision.
Waka appears to got it. Oh, they got it. Oh, they got it.
Boy, oh boy. Mike Matheny's probably going to ask for a review, or at least hold up the play until he has a video guy take a look at it. But where's he going? I mean, when you've got the pitcher up there going to sacrifice you over, you don't need that big of a jump. All you need is to have Michael Waka get the bunt down.
Well, Matheny is convinced by his video coordinator, not worth an appeal. I mean, Wong knew it. Watch his reaction. And Chris, you pointed out many times, if Tony Cingrani has one of the best moves for a left-hander in baseball, you've said it many times, Cueto, at least in the National League, might possess the best move by any right-hander. gone swinging. Waka 2 are out in the inning.
You know, that's a part of the game that is oftentimes so underestimated for a pitcher. I know a lot of guys work on it. Some power pitchers have a hard time, especially tall pitchers have a hard time staying compact, speeding up their delivery enough to be quick to the plate and quick to first base. But Cueto has worked on it and worked on it. And he's got the quickest feet around for a right-hander. And that changes the inning right there. And when you're playing in a tight ball game and you're facing Johnny Cueto and you give an out away on the base pass like that with nobody out, Mike Matheny's going to take a piece out of somebody on that one.
Oh, boy. Frazier is on his way back to the dugout. Very close. Two and two now on Carpenter. 0 for 2. A ground out to Votto and a line drive caught by Hamilton. And again, off of that outside corner, Joe West just says nope.
Pretty good feel of the strike zone for Matt Carpenter because those pitches are not very far off. I mean, how do you lay off of them?
Well, we brought up last night that Carpenter only swung at 33% of the pitches that were thrown his way last year. And he draws a walk after being behind in the count 1-2. Cueto has hit a batter. Now he's walked his first batter.
You know, when we show you that stat about the number of pitches per plate appearance, and you see 4.4 for Matt Carpenter and the NL average being 3.8, you think, well, that's not that big of a difference. That's, you know, a half a pitch at bat. When you're talking about, you know, 500 at bats or 500 plate appearances over the course of the year, that means a lot as far as working the pitcher.
Hayward has hit the ball right on the screws twice. Robbed of a hit on a diving play up the middle by Phillips in the first inning. And just lined a rope that was run down by Bruce in the third. 2-1 game. Cardinals lead. We're in the top of the 5th inning. 0-2 the count.
After that pickoff of Colton Wong, Matt Carpenter's got a very small lead at first. Safety lead.
One and 2 on Hayward. And we'll do it again. Johnny waiting on Hayward to get back in the box. Hayward has stepped out on him a couple of times already in his 3 at-bats today. Okay, the Cardinals have a number of hitters in this lineup that will make you earn an out. Now, they've had some quick innings today. But it seems like when this club settles into a pattern, every batter there at 2 and 2 A lot of 3-2 counts. Saw Carpenter a moment ago behind against Cueto, 1-2.
Well, they don't reward pitchers for nibbling. You know, you get ahead of them, and then you start making them think that you're going to chase, and they don't. So they're a team that you want to stay aggressive on right through the at-bat.
So much like the at-bat against Carpenter, where Cueto was ahead 1-2, went to 3-2 and walked it. He was ahead of Hayward in this at-bat 0-2, and now it's a full count. This will be pitch number 70 for Cueto in the game today. He trails 2-1. We're in the 5th. Phillips down on both knees to field the sharp one hopper. Hayward's 0 for 3 and has 3 bullets. Latter third in the lineup coming up.
Team takes on Mexico as the Americans look to extend a 4-year unbeaten streak against their historic rivals at the sold-out Alamodome in San Antonio. Coverage begins Wednesday at 8:30 Eastern, only on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. I'm Jim Day, and guys, I want to talk about the maturity of Brian Price as a manager. When you do anything in life the second time around, it's certainly going to be better than the first most times. Last year when he was meeting with the media, he would sometimes divulge too much information. He would say whether a pitcher was available that day coming out of the bullpen. I think he has learned quickly through social media that the other teams can pick up on a lot of information. For instance, he was asked today when Devin Mesoraco was going to have a day off, and he said, you know what, at this point I don't know. He's on pace to catch 162 games, and would not divulge whether Aroldis Chapman would be available today because, again, through social media, sometimes teams pick that up and they know going in Chapman might not be available that day. He has learned on the job.
Phillips chases one down and away, a 3-pitch at bat, and Brandon retired for the second straight time. One away. Zach Cozart coming up. And really, it's hard to imagine that we're ever going to have, and some might say, well, Joe Madden, the new Cub manager, longtime Tampa Bay manager, would maybe fall into this category, but because of precisely what Jim just talked about, Chris, the days of finding the Earl Weavers, the Sparky Andersons, the Jack McKeons, the Lou Pinellas, of, you know, not afraid to say what's on their mind, or whether it's positive, negative, whatever the case may be. a lot more guarded are major league clubhouses and managers now. Kozart drops one fair down the line. He'll stay right there, or will he? He's in there safely with a double. Kozart 2 for 2 today.
Oh, you mentioned how Zach Kozart has hit the ball hard several times with not a lot to show for it because he's hit the ball line drives right at him. That time goes with a pitch down and away, keeps it fair down the first baseline. He's thinking double all the way. I mean, he was hustling right out of the box. I think getting back to your point about managers, Tom, I think the questions today are more prying. They're more specific to certain things that managers want to keep quiet. And maybe there is a tendency to have more information out there with social media. It can go from one clubhouse to another in a matter of seconds. But I think reporters are just trying to ask too many prying questions. And you talk about those managers that, Jack McKeon, Lou Piniella, and so on. They were the entertaining type, where they used to sit in an office with a group of reporters and they tell stories and this and that. And you may or may not have ever gotten to the real nitty gritty in your questions. Now they start off with the tough one, and it gets harder from there.
Cueto drops it foul out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Second straight inning, the Reds have the tying run. Third straight inning, the Reds have a tying run in scoring position. Waka will feed Adams in the bag for the second out of the inning, and now a chance for Billy Hamilton. Well, for Ed, it's a home run off that Toyota sign in right center out by the power stacks during our game. James Webster from Cincinnati will win the new Tundra right there. Why not register for your chance to win? Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Reds had Kozart at third in the third, couldn't score him. Had Mesoraco at third in the fourth, couldn't score him. Now they have Kozart at third again here in the fifth. 2 outs for Hamilton. Billy thrown out on a nice play by Peralta on a ball back up through the middle, leading off the first. Tried to bunt his way on. Walker threw him out in the third. Nothing at 2. Waka living right on the edge here in each of the last 3 innings, trying to protect this 1-run advantage. Bouncing ball. Peralta again will throw out Hamilton, and again the Reds lead the tying run 90 feet away. And to 5. Cardinals 2, Reds 1. And we talk about what a hitter-friendly ballpark, Great American Ballpark, has been since opening in '03. Don't tell that to Johnny Cueto. Since 2011. Just an extraordinary 1.9 ERA. Kershaw's numbers equally as impressive, although in a far more pitcher-friendly Dodger Stadium.
And pitcher-friendly stadiums really throughout the National League West.
Yeah, really outside of Denver. Huge ballparks, as we know, in San Diego, Petco Park.
They keep trying to make that smaller, but I'm not so sure they've succeeded in making it into a hitter-friendly park.
Holiday, a little flare into short right that'll fall in to begin the Cardinals' sixth. Well, they just had their home opener on Thursday afternoon. Played an extra inning game, 1-0. They played another extra inning game in Petco yesterday, 1-0 the final. Defending world champion Giants have started the year 3-2. Beat Arizona 2 out of 3. They have split the first 2 against the rebranded, if you will, San Diego Padres. Padres with an entirely new outfield. They've got Kemp running around now on the right. Will Myers, a former Ray, in center. And, of course, Justin Upton now in left field. Adams homered his last time to break the 1-1 tie. Short fly ball, center field. Hamilton tracks it down. Dodgers lost in Arizona last night. Dodgers 2-2 to begin the year. In the NL Central, the Reds are the only team with a winning record going into play today. Cardinals and the Cubs, 1 up. Oh, that can't be right. The Cubs, 1 up, 2 down. Pittsburgh won its first game of the year last night, beating winless Milwaukee. Double play ball here. Cozart, Phillips. Reds will come to bat. Votto, Frazier, Mesoraco hoping for more. Trailing the Cardinals 2-1. Wire World Champion Saturday, April the 5th. It's 2 weeks from today, the 25th. Have a special pregame ceremony. That 1990 World Series champion team will be honored on the field. Plus, the first 25,000 fans receive a Nasty Boys triple bobblehead. That'll be a big night. So get your tickets. First pitch swinging against Walker to begin this 6th inning is Votto, and that's an easy out. Walker has thrown 57 pitches in this game, and we are 1 out into the 6th inning. Look at a couple of those innings. 4, 7, 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 6th. Frazier homered back in the 1st. And had a base hit single through the hole in the 4th. A rare breaking ball, but a good one there by Walker to even the count at 1-1 on Frazier. A 2-1 St. Louis lead here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Two away. It's a 5-pitch inning, and it will continue as it gets away from Adams, and Mesoraco will reach safely. That had a very odd look to it. Wasn't hit very hard, but it seemed to develop so slowly on the left side of that Cardinal infield.
Well, it was right in that hole between third base and shortstop. Carpenter does a nice job getting to it, but he comes up and throws it low. And you can see the ball stayed down low, and Matt Adams tried to scoop it. In fact, it went off Adams, nearly went off the umpire, went into shallow right field, and that's why Mesoraco's on second.
So it'll be an infield hit and a throwing error, allowing Mesoraco to go to second base. And here we are again, tying run in scoring position. 4th consecutive inning. They've had a runner at third in each of the last 3 frames. And now runner at second with 2 away for Bruce, who's 0 for 2 and down a strike. Bruce 3 out of 15 to begin the year. Two and two. Bruce trying to knock this one up with a base hit. And he rolls it foul over in the Reds on deck circle. Still 2-2 on the Reds right fielder Jay Bruce. Trying to bounce back from a very, very disappointing 2014. In each of the 5 prior years, his home run totals and RBI totals had moved upwards. And this one straight in the air. It's all for the Reds in the 6th. 4 innings in a row. They've left the tying run in scoring position off to the 7th. Cardinals still lead by a run. will wrap up their season against the Islanders, and it will be the final regular season game from the Nassau Coliseum. Blue Jackets live tonight, 6:30. Puck drops at 7 right here on Fox Sports Ohio. A beautiful spring Saturday in Cincinnati. The Reds have started this year at 4-0. And they trail by a run in a bid to go 5-0 as we're set to begin the 7th inning. Cueto to face Shea, Molina, and Wong. Reds have out hit them 5-4. Cards have outscored them 2-1. Strike one to John Jay. Jay has been hit by a pitch and flied out to Jay Bruce, so for 1. Cueto's pitch count is good. You don't worry about him as much as a guy coming off a shoulder injury, as in Michael Wacha, but the Cardinal right-hander today has barely worked up a sweat. Jay is out of there swinging. 4th strikeout today for the Reds right-handers.
Little slider down. Remember, it was Jay that has the best batting average lifetime of anybody on this Cardinal team against Cueto. Cueto handles him really because he jumped out ahead 0-2 and then made him chase.
Johnny Cueto's spot is due up 4th in the bottom of the 7th inning. So here he is through his first 2 starts and still working on this 2nd start. He has allowed 2 runs, 1 earned run in nearly 14 innings. 2-1 on Molina. Cardinals do have action in their bullpen. Their pitcher due up 4th here in the 7th inning. Seth Maness, we saw him work an inning last night. Straight up in the air and playable for Frazier over near the Cardinal dugout. 2 away. Coming up after this one and after every game here on Fox Sports Ohio, it's called Reds Live. Brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. We'll break it all down. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, Chris Welsh and company. I have no idea how Jim Day got out of the Fox Sports Ohio condominium last night. That was standing room only in there last night.
Oh, they had the fireworks. They had 6 or 7 rows deep of Jim Day fans making noise. His people showed up in a big way.
They sure are. Well, they love Jim Day. And he loves them back. Two and 2 on Colton Wong. He knocked in a run with a sac fly his first time up. Single to right. Was picked off. And Chris, you said it at the time, what a big play that could be. It turned out to be a big play indeed.
Well, exactly. Later in the inning, Carpenter comes around to draw a walk from Cueto. That would have been at least 2 runners on base.
Straight away center field will back up Hamilton. The inning is over. Bird, Phillips, Kozart, then Cueto. The Reds trail 2-1.
of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Be a part of the Major League Baseball All-Star Game action this summer in Cincinnati. Just visit T-Mobile All-Star Fan Fest, the world's largest interactive baseball theme park. That'll be at the Duke Energy Convention Center, July 10th through the 14th. Check it all out at allstargame.com. All right, Reds trying to break through against Waka here in the 7th, trailing 2-1. And Waka just pounding the strike zone. He has thrown 53 strikes and only 17 balls. Little delay in the action. Fan, I think, got hit with that line drive into the stands. A lot of fans down there standing around the person who was hit by that line drive and weren't able to tell exactly who it is.
Hey, you don't normally see a break in the action right here. I'm not, you know, what happens a lot of time is people are turning around to see the incident and what's going on up there. They turn their backs to the field and then they can't see if another one is hit down there.
Of course, there are medical teams stationed all over this ballpark, but you don't have them for every single aisle that goes down, so they're on their way quickly. Certainly our thoughts and prayers with that fan hit. I know we say it all the time. We've said it for years and years and years. Some of you are probably tired of hearing it, but all it takes is one foul ball. And all it takes is for one pitch. If you're sitting in the stands and you're not paying attention to the game, you don't want to be that next fan. We don't want anyone to be that next fan. Well, now the medical team arriving. Apparently, we're being told a gentleman wearing glasses was hit in the eye, shattering the glasses. That is scary stuff. Well, Michael Walker has been making a few warm-up pitches, and Umpire still holding up play here.
You know, Tom, we see it happen so often. You know, maybe once a week as we travel around the different stadiums, the different major league parks. And most of the time you see line drives like that. Right-handed hitter rifling it into the right field stands like a check swing or protecting the plate. And a lot of times the hardest hit and the most dangerous line drives are right near the dugout area, closer to home plate. That incident happened quite a bit down there in really shallow right field. Sometimes you get shielded by the guy sitting in front of you who stands up and at the last second moves to get out of the way of the ball, and then you get hit by the ball.
Saw the first base umpire Kerwin Danley go over to the fans and said, everybody turn around and watch the game so we can get back to playing baseball and the medical people can do what they're paid to do, and that's try and take care of that gentleman and his family. Hard hit ball, but the Cardinals had him played perfectly. Marlon Birdo for 3 today, one away here in the 7th inning.
Well, the Reds have had a hard time getting a lot of base hits, but what they have been able to do is to make the most of the hits that they've had so far this year. Through 4 games coming into this ball game, the Reds have 26 hits but have scored 18 runs. On the other hand, the Cardinals have 24 hits coming into today, and they've only scored 7 runs. So the Reds are making the most of their opportunities.
Brandon Phillips 0 for 2. You hear the round of applause applauding as they're able to escort that gentleman for further medical attention, getting him up on his feet and getting back up through the row beyond the Reds' first base side dugout. 2-0 on Brandon. Cozart with a pair of hits on deck. Should we get any further in this inning, it would be the number 9 spot. That's Johnny Cueto. Three and 0. Phillips becomes only the 3rd Reds batter in this game to reach 3 balls in the count. And he's looking to jump on a 3-1 pitch here. Ball 4, he'll take the walk. First walk of the game given up by Waka. Fox Sports Live comes your way tonight at 11 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. We'll have all the highlights from baseball, the NBA, NHL, and of course the Masters. Here comes Mike Matheny. That may be all for Waka. That is all for Waka. He's already called for the right-hander Manus to face Cozart. Waka more than held his own up against Johnny Cueto here today in his first start of the year. This is our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Reds with a runner aboard, 1 out in the 7th, trailing 2-1. Reds defense spectacular early on. Plays by Phillips, Bird, Hamilton, although it was an error that allowed the Cardinals to score their first run after the Reds had taken a 1-0 lead on a home run by Frazier in the opening inning. Matt Adams broke the 1-1 tie with a home run to right off Cueto in the fourth. 2-1 game. Waka out. Seth Maness in to face Cozart, who's a perfect 2 for 2 today. And that is Maness' MO. Very much a ground ball pitcher.
Yeah, not a hard thrower. He's a guy that tops out in the high 80s with his fastball, got good sinking action, and he's not afraid at all of attacking the bottom end of the strike zone.
Maness, a perfect 7th inning. He struck out Cozart last night to get the 3rd and final out.
To give you an idea how much he induces ground balls, Maness, in his rookie year 2016, his ground ball percentage was 70%, which is simply off the charts. Last year a little bit better, a little bit more down to earth at 57%, but still that is one of the highest in the league as far as percentage of ground balls versus fly balls.
Well, if I remember right, and I probably don't, how many double plays did he induce that first year, his rookie year? He was among the league leaders. Might have been the league leader.
16 the first year, 12 last year. So you're talking, for a reliever, that's an awful lot.
That's what I mean, for relief pitchers.
He's a guy they've leaned on a lot. He's been 66 games the first year, which is a lot of action. Last year he went up to 73. So you're wondering now. They've done studies about the number of games pitchers appear in year after year until there's a pretty good drop-off. But he's not a guy that really overthrows, and they figure he can be pretty durable. From Pinehurst, North Carolina.
You spent a lot of time in and around there.
I've spent some time in North Carolina, but not Pinehurst.
In fact, that's a low-rent district for the areas where you hang out.
Hello to all my friends in Maggie Valley.
1-2 on Cozart.
They got us dialed in.
Oh, yeah. Paying a lot of attention to Brandon over there. A moment ago, they had Phillips on the run, trying to play a little hit and run, and Cozart fouled off the pitch. Zake single to center in the 3rd. They double down the right field line in the 5th. Hard-throwing left-hander Kevin Segrist is ready in the Cardinal bullpen. Right now the Reds have Brennan Bosch, a left-handed batter, standing in the on-deck circle. Good eye by Cozart, 2-2.
People ask me, how do you become a sinker ball pitcher? How do you learn to get the ball down? And I had a great tip from Burke Badenhop this year, who told me that sometimes he has a bullpen and he sees how many pitches that he can throw in that bullpen from the knees to the ground without hitting the ground. You teach yourself to keep it down. There he goes. Brandon's best base stealing years are probably behind him, but I'm wondering if the Reds see something in the way that Yadier Molina is throwing the ball. Not at all like we are used to seeing. He has always been one of the best as far as clamping down the opposing team's running game.
Sure.
But he hasn't thrown the ball that well here.
A sellout crowd here at Great American Ballpark. Standing room only. Bottom of the 7th inning. Cardinals a 2-1 lead. Phillips at first. 1 out. 2-2 to Cozart. Lined into center field and will hang up long enough for John Jay to get it. So now decision time for Mike Matheny, and as soon as Brendan Bosch's name is announced, he springs from the third base dugout and will bring on his left-hander. We'll see if the Reds counter that move. They have right-handed batting options on that bench of Negron, Dominguez, and the switch-hitting Brian Pena. Out goes Manus, in comes Segrist. Dealers, proud sponsor of the Cincinnati Reds. Now the Reds going to stay with a left-handed batting Brennan Bosch against hard-throwing left-hander who was great 2 years ago. Had some arm problems, not nearly as sharp last year, Kevin Segrist.
And they're a little bit concerned about his arm even to today. The arm problems that he had actually lend himself to a little bit of a numbness in his fingers. Some nerve issues. They're not sure what it is. He's out there pitching, but not the way he was when he first broke on the scene. His delivery looks a little different too. He looks stiffer to me, more upright, almost arching his back as he takes the ball out of his glove.
I mean, this guy was a very definition in body and in stuff of a power pitcher in 2013. Throwing 97, 98, just dominating the opposition.
Well, we have an earned run average that starts with 0 point. That's a pretty good indicator, even for a reliever. But it was 0.45 in the 45 games he was in.
First two fastballs here at 90 and 91 miles per hour, but both of them paint the outside corner. And he's ahead of Bosch at a ball and 2 strikes. Struck him out to end the inning. We are off to the 8th. Another tight one. Cardinals in front, 2-1. Final game of the series. First 20,000 fans receive a magnetic schedule. Those things are sweet for the fridge. Card magnet. It's presented by PNC Bank. 381-REDS or log on to Reds.com for tickets. Perrysburg, Ohio native Burke Badenhop will take over on the mound. Johnny Cueto cannot win it. 7 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned. 1 walk, hit a batter, fan 4.
Badenhop did his college work at Bowling Green State University, where he played for one of my first ever roommates, Danny Schmitz, who is still there, by the way. Badenhop's been around a little bit. First 4 years of his major league career was with Florida, the Marlins that is. Then he spent a year with the Tampa Bay Rays. A couple of years ago with Milwaukee, where he pitched 63 games and 70 games last year for the Red Sox.
It's hard to think along with both of these managers from time to time, and of course they're a couple of sharp guys down there. But looking ahead to the Reds' 8th inning, Segrist came in to face Bosch, and now he is taken out of the game for Grichuk. And I bring it up because you have Hamilton and Votto to start the next half inning for the Reds. Ground ball to short. And Cozart will throw out Grichuk. No. Throw pulled Votto's toe off the bag. Not quite sure, and neither is Brian Price. Tough to tell from that angle, but sure did look like Votto managed to keep the toe on the bag.
Well, Kerwin Danley, I think, is telling Brian Price, you know, you don't have to come all the way out here. The new protocol is you just hang right there, and then you let us know if we're going to review or not. And evidently Brian has asked for a review. Our first of the year. So they get the headphones out. The umpires will be directly online with New York. And the question is, if we get a good shot of that toe in that bag, we'll find out maybe before they will whether it's the right call or not.
Well, of course, the outcome, you have 3 choices. Confirmed, that's a clear and convincing evidence the call on the field was correct. Stands means no clear and convincing evidence to confirm or overturn the call. Overturned means clear and convincing evidence that the call on the field was incorrect and they would write that call.
It's all about the big toe, because the ball certainly got there in time.
You know, to finish a thought, though, Chris, while we're waiting the final decision from New York, Kevin Segrist, as a left-hander, would turn Billy Hamilton around the bat right-handed. You'd rather face him as a right-handed batter than from the left side, or at least last year you would. Joey Votto is 0 for 7 in his career against Kevin Segrist. I don't know if they have another left-hander down there. Randy Choate warming up in the bullpen. He's their other option. But based on what's coming in the next inning for the Reds, sort of a head-scratcher that Mike Matheny elected to have Segrist face one batter and then take him out of the game.
Unless there's something we don't know about Kevin Segrist.
Yep.
We mentioned his arm problem. Looks like they're going to
runner safe.
What does that come under, the confirmed category?
Carl
stands.
Yep. So as many great plays as the Reds have made on defense in this young season and in this game today, that is their second error. The other led to an unearned run against Johnny Cueto, and that's a margin between these two teams here in the 8th inning. Strike one to Matt Carpenter. Straightaway center field. Hamilton will back up and waits for it for out number one. Gritchie going to think about tagging Hamilton. A one hopper right on the bag. The Reds scored their only run in this game in the very first inning on a 3-0 pitch to Todd Frazier. A line drive to the first row in the seats in left field. Cardinals tied the game on an unearned run in the second inning, and Matt Adams broke the tie with a solo home run off of Johnny Cueto in the fourth. Now Hayward. Pulled foul, a ball and a strike on Hayward. Nice pick by Phillips, and a double play ends the inning. All right, here we go now. Bottom of the 8th. It starts with Hamilton to be followed by Votto. And we know what Frazier has done 3 times, including once today. Reds down a run.
Price trying to figure out a way to get one more bit of magic going on like the Reds have done so far. Only 2 teams in Major League history to start the first 4 games with wins in their last at bat. the 1901 Tigers and this year's Reds. So on the verge of history, if they can get it done, and they've got the top of the lineup coming up.
And it was the 8th inning. They did it last night, breaking a 4-4 tie. And they did it against a man who takes over on the mound. Jordan Walden came over during the offseason from Atlanta. You may remember he walked Billy Hamilton last night with 1 out. Hamilton stole second, went to third on a wild pitch, and then scored on the fly ball in short right field by Todd Frazier, beating the throw from Jason Hayward to Molina. Reds scored without a hit. Billy 0 for 3, twice has hit the ball quite sharply. The ball's cut off up the middle by Peralta. Struck him out on 3 pitches here to begin the 8th.
Pulled the string very nicely. Interesting about the Cardinals, really hard to second guess what Mike Matheny has done so far handling his pitching staff. This Cardinal relief corps has not yet given up a hit. In the 7 innings that they've been called on to pitch.
Double barrel action down in that Cardinal bullpen. We mentioned the left-hander Randy Choate. He's been around forever. He's ready to go, and they have their closer Trevor Rosenthal. And after a lengthy meeting on the mound, now Mike Matheny comes out of the dugout. Randy Choate has never allowed a run in his very long career in Great American Ballpark. Will he face Votto? Yes. Now they make the decision and make the call. They want to talk about speeding up the pace of play. There's an area they could look into it. So Maina's face 1 batter. Segrist a batter. Walden a batter. And skipping his way to the mound to face Votto is Randy Choate. This season. Reds are down a run, batting in the 8th. Nobody on, 1 out. The new pitcher Randy Choate. Not only has Choate never surrendered a run at Great American Ballpark, he has never allowed a run in 21 career appearances spanning only 11 innings in his career against the Reds. Votto tries to change that and takes inside. Got a piece of his bat. Strike 1. And there's a base hit into right field by Votto. 3 for 11 in his career now against Choate. Does Mike Matheny bring his closer on now in the 8th inning with 5 outs to play with?
Well, he's making a trip to the mound, and I would not think that he's going to leave the left-hander in the face to a right-handed part of the lineup, and he's already made the move to the bullpen.
This will be the 5th pitcher used to face what will be a 5th straight Reds batter.
Well, get used to it. These two teams are going to play a lot of games together. They know each other's personnel as well as any two teams do. And you're going to see Choate-Votto matchup all season long. And you're going to see Rosenthal and Frazier all season long.
We mentioned that Choate's never allowed to run at Great American Ballpark. The same holds true for Trevor Rosenthal. Our steel power tool performer clubbed his 3rd home run of the year. It came on a 3-0 pitch. That's the Reds' only run today. They trail 2-1 with Votto at first and 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Trevor Rosenthal, who at times looked virtually untouchable, and then many times over the last couple of months of last season, not nearly as sharp.
Well, he's only pitched once this year, and he's gotten off to a pretty nice start. That was the Sunday opener when they played the Cubs in Chicago. Struck out all 3 batters on swinging strikes to nail it down for the Cardinals.
Rosenthal can be very wild. He and Fernando Rodney were the only 2 closers in baseball last year to throw over 1,100 pitches. That's a lot of pitches for a closer. He did save 45 games. One and one the count on Frazier. And it's high, 2 balls and a strike.
We're seeing more attempts at breaking balls already from Rosenthal than we ever saw last year and the year before. He used to be simply Powder River every pitch.
Frazier 1 of 9 in his career against a Cardinal closer. Bottom fell out again off speed. Pitch was in the dirt.
Looks like he's throwing a little splitter. That must be the pitch that he's throwing there. Has great depth to it and good arm action. When you get up there around 97 miles an hour and then throw the next one at 82, tough for the batter to adjust.
2-2 to Frazier. Fouled out of play, came back with a fastball at 98. There were a lot of fans in St. Louis that wanted Rosenthal out as their closer last year. Despite the 40+ save season, he was quite a roller coaster ride. Another fastball at 98, and again Frazier fouls it away. Mesoraco waits in the on-deck circle. Reds are running the first. Cardinals tied it on unearned run against Cueto in the second. Adams a home run in the fourth. Reds have had a runner in scoring position each of the last 5 innings. That one fouled out of play again. Reds had a runner at third in the fourth, in the fifth, a runner at second in the sixth, and left a runner on in the seventh. Trying to break through here in the eighth against Rosenthal and company. Votto will move into scoring position. We have talked about it before with Rosenthal. He is a guy at times that would have a hard time throwing 3 strikes before 4 balls. In fact, he's thrown a lot more balls and strikes in this at bat because Frazier chased 2 pitches you may remember in the dirt.
Well, it's easy to chase because you're trying to get that bat going and try to catch up with the fastball.
3-2 now on Frazier. And he pushes one to the right side. That one tied him up. And that was off speed as well.
Yeah, it seems like his go-to pitch is no longer his go-to pitch.
It's the 4th time in the last 6 innings the Reds have placed a runner at third base. Can they finally bring that runner home and tie this game? It's up to Devin Mesoraco. And with all the pitches we have seen Rosenthal throw in the dirt already during the Frazier at bat, I'm sure Votto will take a strong secondary lead in case one should get away from Molina to tie the game. Mesoraco now choking up on that bat, trying to battle back behind 0-2. And Votto is ready. If that one got away from Molina, smothered it beautifully.
I mean, when Rosenthal misses with that off-speed pitch, I mean, he is really missing.
One ball, 2-strike pitch. And a slow roll to short, which will end the inning. Again, the Reds threaten, but again, the door slams. We're off to the 9th. Still a 1-run Cardinal lead.
Sports Live. It's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. First look at the lineups, features, interviews, and more. And tomorrow, we will set you up for the Major League debut of Raisel Iglesias, the Cuban defector. Will make not only his Reds debut, but the first time we've seen him in the bigs. You've heard raves about his stuff. Well, we'll see that stuff tomorrow as the Reds and Cardinals close it out here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Peyton up on for his second inning of work. End of 8, 2 runs, 4 hits, an error, 3 left for St. Louis. 1 run, 6 hits, 2 errors, 6 left on base for the Reds. That one will fall out of play behind home plate. Strike 1 to Matt Holliday. This is an important inning for Badenhop. Give his team a chance in the last of the ninth to come to the plate down by just the lone run. Bruce, Bird, and Phillips for the Reds in the bottom of the ninth inning. Votto, the only man on that side of the infield, and a good feed to Badenhop. That pitch was away from Holliday, and that big gap, he almost shot it through there.
It's a nice play by Joey Votto right here. First to grab, and then he sets himself. Badenhop gets over there quickly, gives him a good target. It's a nice play.
So now Matt Adams, he broke the 1-1 tie all the way back in the 4th inning with that home run down the right field line just by the Cardinal bullpen. Johnny Cueto in his first 2 starts of this season has gone 14 innings. He has allowed 2 runs, 1 earned run. And cannot get a single win.
I thought with the new sabermetrics, we don't even talk about starters' wins anymore, right? You got to get with the program. We're talking FIP.
And I know you're saying it all tongue-in-cheek. I pray you are. Because
I'll explain it to you, partner.
They only have, when these standings come out every day, they have these standings where they have one category that says wins and the other category that says losses.
Those are team stats.
I understand that.
Very important ones.
Hammered into right field by a diving Brandon Phillips.
This ball had some serious humpback on it.
Peter Borges will come on and run for Adams. Boy, Mike Matheny's got him coming and going every time you turn around in this one.
Can you imagine him with a spring training size roster? He'd have been out of there like Urban Meyer.
Well, they hit a little better in Columbus.
I think you're right.
I know I'm right. Borges runs very well. That's why they were so excited to get him when he first came to the big leagues. His father, a longtime scout in Major League Baseball, has lived out in Arizona for many, many years. But when he first came to the big leagues, he looked like a player. I mean, a guy that was going to be really good for a long, long time and then just stopped hitting. Went through some injuries. Figured to get a fresh start. There was nowhere left in that Angels outfield after they brought in Hamilton, throw down to second base, and he is in there easy.
Well, they pitched out the pitch before, thinking that maybe they sniffed something out. They didn't think that the Reds would pitch out 2 times in a row, and they were right.
Two and 0 on Peralta, and now 3 balls and no strikes. No activity in the Reds bullpen. This inning belongs to Badenhop. There's a strike. 3-1 on Peralta. We did not see Tony Cingrani here last night. Boy, that's a huge run right there. That is a huge run for the Cardinals. Peralta, an RBI single, plating Borges. 3-1 St. Louis.
Well, that little sinking fastball, he just went from side to side. Did not have much depth on it, meaning that it didn't go down, and rifled in the left field.
Then it continues now for John Jay. Jay has been hit by a pitch flying to right and struck out. After all the chances for the Reds here over the last 5 innings. That one finds a hole into right field. Badenhop has now given up 3 consecutive base hits. Jeff Pico will slowly walk out of the Reds dugout, and now he'll break into a trot. And now all of a sudden the Reds, after having no activity, they have Manny Parra up and throwing in the bullpen. And, you know, you ask yourself, outside of maybe Badenhop tiring, who would Parra be getting ready for? Colton Wong, although Wong is a really good hitter against left-handed pitching. Wong is due up next, but Badenhop has to take care of Molina. In the air over near the screen, and again out of play. Inning began on a bouncing ball. Good play by Votto to take care of Holiday. But Adams is single to right. Borges ran for him, stole second base, scored on a single by Peralta, who advances to second on a single by Jay, and there's another hit. 4 in a row. They're going to wave around the runner. Here comes a throw by Billy Hamilton. And safe is a call at home as Araujo unable to get there. The throw is up the line. Cardinals now lead 4-1. 4 consecutive Cardinal hits. Well, Brian Price is coming out of the dugout. One would assume to make a pitching change, but he will stop in with Joe West first, wondering about if a tag was made. Baden-Opp allows 4 consecutive hits after retiring the first batter in the inning. 2 runs so far. And a 2-1. Runs, 4 hits here in the Cardinal 9th inning. And that 2-1 ball game has become a 3-run deficit for the Reds as Manny Parra will now take the ball. Parra has thrown a total of 6 pitches this season. Came in on opening day, first pitch base hit. Came in last night, first pitch base hit. Then intentionally walked a batter and was taken out of the game. The bullpen was the soft spot along with the offense. Of course, injuries the #1 story for the Reds last year, but the bullpen really struggled. And that was after the bullpen had been, if not the #1 asset for the Reds in the prior 4 years where they went to the postseason 3 times. It was right up there. Colton Wong trying to bunt his way on with a runner at third and 1 out in the inning.
And I'm not so sure he's thinking straight today. I think maybe Mike Matheny would agree. Got picked off first base by Johnny Cueto in a situation where the pitcher Michael Walker was up to bunt, and you got first and third with a chance to drive a run in with 1 out and you bunt. Even if it works, there's a good chance the runner stays at third base.
Wong was a guy last year who hit .315. Now remember, his overall season average was .249. He hit .315 against left-handed pitching last year.
He's also got the pitcher coming up next. So why would you bunt to load the bases up to have the pitcher come up?
Inning over. Nice shot by Manny. But 2 runs in the Cardinal 9th. Do the Reds have a miracle finish in them? They're down by 3. They have won each of their first 4 games to start this season. In their final at bat, to try and make it 5 in a row, they'll have to come back against right-hander Trevor Rosenthal. 2 changes in center field and first base for the Cardinals. Borges remains in the game in center. Actually, they push John Jay over into left field. Matt Holliday out. And over at first base, Mark Reynolds. Nice work by Manny Parra, retiring the only 2 batters he faced there in the top of the inning. Jay Bruce 0 for 3 today.
You know, Bruce said he would lay down a bunt against a shift from time to time. The Cardinals are definitely have a shift on, but he still hasn't gotten the technique down where you bunt first and then run.
Cardinals are not playing, though, as dramatic a shift as we see a lot of other teams do against Bruce.
Well, we just saw the shiftiest of all teams when the Pirates were in here. I mean, they really are over shifting, if you want to call it that.
Bruce 0 for 4 in the game.
And he does it with fastballs and he does it with changeups as well. Rosenthal has a curveball, changeup, and a fastball. That's a changeup, and that's the best one he's thrown all day.
That quartet of Mesoraco, Bruce, Bird, and Phillips having a hard time. Collectively 0 for the game. Oh, I beg your pardon. They gave Mesoraco an infield hit on that ball that was a dribbler to the left side. So he's 1 of 4. Bruce 0 for 4. Bird 0 for 3. Phillips 0 for 2. And the Reds are down to their final out of the afternoon.
Well, Trevor Rosenthal does throw hard. He threw the first pitch to Marlon Bird here at 98 miles an hour, and that is our flamethrower pitch of the day, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce.
Rosenthal an out away from his second save of this young season. Cueto an out away from a loss, despite giving up 2 runs, only 1 earned in 7 innings here today. .30 Reds live tomorrow. Raisel Iglesias makes his major league debut for the Redlegs against hard-throwing right-hander Carlos Martinez.
I am really looking forward to seeing Iglesias. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. Kid's got a lot of different pitches. Got a nice smooth delivery. Got good command. Hopefully he can keep his emotions under control and go right about his business, but it's going to be really interesting to watch him pitch.
Game over. Rosenthal retires all 5 batters he faces. And for the first time in his 2015 season, the Reds on the short end of the scoreboard. Reds Live is coming up. 4-1 our final today. St. Louis wins it. Waka over Cueto. Rosenthal the save. Reds Live next.